Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Classic rock band Jefferson Starship lands at the historic Maryland Theater in Hagerstown, Maryland next Tuesday. I spoke with singer and guitarist David Freiberg about the band's biggest hits, evolving from Jefferson Airplane's White Rabbit to Jefferson Starship's Miracles to Starships We Built This City.
My name is David Freiberg, and I'm a singer and a guitar player with Jefferson Starship.
Awesome. Now, we've known and loved the band forever in, all of its iterations, but, what can we expect to, at this specific show up in Hagerstown? Do you throw any holiday stuff in there, or is it the hits from over the years, or what we got?
We haven't talked about any holiday stuff. But no, you can expect to hear things from the whole Jefferson experience, from Jefferson Airplane all the way up through our new release that's out now, Mother of the Sun.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned Jefferson Airplane, and then of course we'll get to Jefferson Starship. But whenever I have someone like you on, I like to move chronologically if we can. So, talk about, how the band was actually founded back in the Airplane days.
Okay, well, when they founded Jefferson Airplane, I was in the band called Quicksilver Messenger Service at that point in time. But I joined Jefferson Airplane in 1972, which turned out to be the end of the Jefferson Airplane.
But I'm sure you've heard the story, at least from the other band members, of how the band got together in the 60s, right?
Oh, well, I was there. Yeah. No, Paul Kantner and I were great friends, actually, before that. And he let me, I don't know how far to go into this.
I want to hear it all. Well, at least, the condensed version, if you could. But I love to hear, though, how the origin of the band actually came together.
Okay, well, I had been arrested for possession of less than an ounce of pot.
Okay.
And he came to visit me in jail.
I love it.
And he told me that he and Marty Ballin were putting together a band, and they thought they were going to call it Jefferson Starship. And I said, that sounds wonderful, and that's where I learned about it. And so eventually they let me out of jail because, they would have had to feed me. So they let me out.
So it was no joke. It was talking through the glass of jail.
No lie.
That is so cool. All right, so you're in there because you'd already known him years before. So obviously, if he comes,
yes, we were going to become great folk singers. We were going to form a folk singer duo, and we moved to Los Angeles, and we were hanging we lived in Venice, California, and David Crosby would come over. This was before he was in the Byrds. Sure. So I mean, yeah. Anyway, so that's where that started.
I love it. Well, so obviously you didn't join until 72, but
I ended up starting up Quicksilver Messenger Service, and we all played together, around the San Francisco area and made records. And then after I left Quicksilver, Marty Ballin had left Jefferson Airplane, and Paul and Grace asked me if I'd come join them and sing. And so
Great.
I did.
Awesome. Well, real quick, you mentioned Grace. So obviously, everyone talking about Grace Slick. Iconic,
yes,
iconic
Slick, yes.
Voice, iconic stuff. What do you think? I know some of these songs predated you actually joining the band, but obviously you were following along and you guys were all friends. So,
yes.
what made Grace's voice and just so commanding on, let's say, Somebody to Love and White Rabbit, those kind of songs?
Her poise, and her sense of presence on stage was unique to her. Nobody else was like her.
But it translates on the record too. It's not just on stage, right? You can, when you put on that album.
Well, that was her presence came through the microphone also.
Absolutely. Well, what about I'm sure you guys still perform some of those early. They predated you actually joining the band, but I'm sure you still perform. Do you still perform some of those songs do you still do Somebody to Love in the set at Hagerstown?
I'm pretty sure we will do Somebody to Love. Probably White Rabbit also.
Well, this is all for me to get individual sound bites for my purposes. But what makes Somebody to Love such a great jam. Why do you think it's still? I mean, kids today still know that song.
Isn't it amazing?
Why do you think it works so well?
Actually, during the pandemic, we were looking around for something to do, and it was the Red Sox. Fenway Park asked us if we could do something, and we were all locked in our own studios, so we all got out our iPhones and recording studio and videoed ourselves playing our parts on Somebody to Love and singing them, and everybody sent the parts to a central location, and we mixed it down and edited the video and have a version of Somebody to Love that's you could probably find that if you look up Fenway Park Jefferson Starship. You'll probably find that video there of us. It's individually doing it in separate places. But yeah, it came out really good.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone hit YouTube and try to find that Fenway Park Somebody to Love.
And good luck.
I assume you also still do White Rabbit. Talk about why that worked. I mean, that was sort of like the Alice in Wonderland imagery. I mean, that was, great. Oh, yeah. The late 60s with some trippy, heady, acidy times. But why do you think that worked with all that Alice stuff?
Well, of course it worked because one pill makes you larger, one pill makes you, come on.
It's not even hidden. It's right there in the lyrics.
It's pretty overt. Yeah.
Pretty overt stuff, but it still works even today, even in a different time. Still works today.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. We don't try to make it sound just like the record or anything like that. We play it as if we were playing it, but respecting its roots, let's say. Very much. So anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So expect them, kind of say, I don't want to call it up to date as if that was dated, but we're playing it like we're playing it.
And sure. Well, by the way, I'd be remiss if I don't ask you about when Airplane played Woodstock there in '69. I mean, I know you joined them after, but did the band ever have any good stories? I mean, because the night they played, I guess it was a Saturday, they closed after Grateful Dead, CCR, Janis Joplin, Sly and the Family Stone, and then The Who, and then Jefferson Airplane was the last one after all those crazy headline opening acts.
They came on in the morning, actually.
Like 8 a.m., like it was an all-night affair, right?
Yeah, maniac breakfast.
Did they have any good stories that they relayed to you that you could share with us? I mean, how, if you're going on at 8 a.m. after all those guys, what do you do? Do you sleep? Do you eat breakfast? What do you do?
I think they stayed up all night. And they're pretty, I don't know, with what, how many, 500,000 people there?
Wow. I mean,
so that would keep you awake. Keep you alert.
You got Abby Hoffman interrupting The Who right before you come on stage. I mean, man, different time, but wow, what a night.
That was nuts.
Did you get to go see him, or was that when you were sidelined, if you will?
I was back. I was back. I was playing with Quicksilver. And we were recording an album with Nicky Hopkins back in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And he had just finished making an album with Jefferson Airplane too, their Volunteers album. And so they asked him to come back and play with them at Woodstock. So he was there.
Right, Nicky Hopkins was on stage with them. Yeah, at Woodstock.
Yeah.
Wow, what a crazy time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so you said you joined Jefferson Airplane in 72. So right. Obviously, it sort of rebrands with a slightly different lineup for Jefferson Starship in 74. So shortly after that. So what maybe for some younger listeners that might not remember and they've heard of both band names, but explain to them why the shift in the name and the lineup.
Well, Paul and Grace and I, Paul and Grace had some obligations to the record company, excuse me, to the record company for 2 records. And so, we just produced them. The 3 of us kind of produced both of them. One was called Baron von Tollbooth and the Chrome Nun, which is a bunch of songs. And then another was a solo album for Grace, which was basically the same people. And we used people from the Bay Area. I mean, Jerry Garcia's on both of those. And, pretty much, and some of the Jefferson Airplane was on there too. I think Jack Cassidy's probably playing on there, even Yorma, and people that were going to end up being in Jefferson Starship, and put those out. And when it came time, we realized that we didn't have a band to play. Jefferson Airplane just seemed to have fallen apart because of disinterest in being Jefferson Airplane by the members. Yorm and Jack were off playing in a band called Hot Tune and doing their own thing. And so we said, well, what do we call this? We got to go out and play. And so Paul had made an album of his own. His first solo album is called Blows Against the Empire, about a bunch of hippies hijacking the very first Starship and going out into outer space and populating the universe, something like that. And he put in whoever's playing on that was on that album, called it the Jefferson Starship Crew. And so obviously we were going to call it Jefferson Starship. So we did.
It's a natural evolution from an airplane to a starship.
Got to go along.
Well, yeah. And then, in those Jefferson Starship days, I know our listeners will probably remember, gosh, there were so many, like Miracles and With Your Love and Count on Me and Jane, and there's Find Your Way Back. There were so many, but which one of those, I'm not talking Starship, which is later, but that Jefferson Starship middle period there, what sort of songs might be on the set list from that period?
You just named them.
Yeah. Do you have a personal favorite from that particular era? Or Miracles, or what do you got?
Oh, it's like asking to pick your favorite child.
Yeah, exactly. Well, why do you think Miracles work? How did this sound?
Well, actually, when we put out the very first official Jefferson Starship album, Marty came back and sang one song that he had written with Paul. And so the person I replaced came back.
Funny how that works.
So Marty came back to the band, and Marty wrote Miracles. And that was on the second album, Red Octopus. And that's probably, I think that's probably between that or Jane, I don't know, it's probably one of the best play, the highest performing songs that Jefferson Starship ever put out was Definitely. Miracles. Usually Miracles is there, then it's Jane, and then Find Your Way Back, and
oh yeah, definitely.
Count on Me. I mean, there's so many of them.
It's so cool how you kept reinventing yourself too throughout all of that. So, it was Jefferson Airplane, then Jefferson Starship, and then it came another iteration, I guess, Starship. It was initially a continuation of Jefferson Starship.
However, Paul left the band because he didn't like the direction it was going, and eventually I left because it wasn't what I did either. And it was a produced band. That's what they wanted to be. The majority of the band wanted to be produced.
What do you mean, like that new 80s sound, very overly produced?
Yes, well, I don't know, overly. They were produced, and all of the songs had to be guaranteed hits, so they came from outside writers, and the band didn't write the songs.
I see what you mean. I see what you're saying. So wait, what year did you actually bounce from the band?
I bounced out. Well, Paul left in 1980, sometime in 1985, and I left shortly afterwards.
Okay, so you were there for what was it? Knee deep in the hoopla. I guess that was the.
I left just as they started that album.
Okay. Well, our listeners will definitely remember We Built This City and Sarah and all that off of that. So, do you have any tidbits on that, or was that completely after you had left?
That was after I left. Not that I didn't dislike the songs or anything like that. It just wasn't what I was used to doing. I'm used to, rather than just play what I'm told. You know what I'm.
Right. So it was so for you, it was, for those songs. And then I guess Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now was another one after that. But you're saying that those were sort of written by outside writers and produced rather than organic. You guys wrote them.
They were written by outside writers, and nothing wrong with that. I love all those songs. And Donnie Baldwin who's playing drums with us and singing harmonies with us right now remained in the band. So he was there for all of that.
Okay,
And
so
as a matter of fact, if you will probably, you could hear, we built this city, nothing's going to stop us now, Sarah. We'll do the songs. I have no problem singing them.
so at Hagerstown, when people come to the Maryland Theater, they'll
Yeah,
probably still hear those songs too.
Yeah, we might do any of those. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have such a big catalog; it's almost hard to choose from.
Yeah, but it got real confused because the record company would end up putting out compilation of hits, and they combined Jefferson Starship and Starship songs on the same album, and so people just started thinking that Jefferson Starship, casual listeners wouldn't know the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when really it was only what
so people will come to a Jefferson Starship show and expect to hear their wedding song, which is Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. And who, and so we decided after Paul passed away to go ahead and sing those songs because they're really good songs. Why not sing them?
Right.
We don't want to disappoint somebody that didn't hear their weddings. Anyway, Donnie played on the album and sang on them. So, we're not.
Exactly. I hear what you're saying. If people show up to hear a song like their wedding
I
song,
don't want it to be disappointed.
Exactly. Well, there probably weren't many White Rabbit's not as good of a wedding song.
No, but there were Jefferson Starship songs that would be good wedding songs. Oh, Miracles would be a good one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's kind of, I don't know, all these years later, I guess it makes sense to fold it all in under the one giant umbrella.
No, but I could safely say if you're coming to hear a specific song that was your favorite, the chances are we'll probably do it.
I would say that's pretty safe. Pretty safe. So where were you then when the band, let's say, I know they were in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in '96. I guess you sort of had to watch from afar. I guess it was just the original lineup that went in.
Yeah, it was just the original lineup that went in, I think. Yeah.
Right. Well, you still got to sit there and probably be, a proud brother sibling there.
I'm proud. I'm proud of him. Sure.
Absolutely. And I know Jefferson Airplane got the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2016. I mean, the accolades keep rolling in. I mean,
they got that, and Grace didn't sing on it, but she insisted that Kathy, our lead singer, sing Somebody to Love at the performance on the television show. And if you go back and find that, you'll see that Kathy's playing with Yorman, Jack, and whoever else was playing.
Right. Well, remind our listeners, about who is the lead singer now, because obviously Grace doesn't tour with you all anymore.
No,
but
it's Kathy Richardson, who's been the lead singer since 2008. So she's been with quite a while.
And dish on what makes her, she's got some pipes that can match up right with Grace, right?
She has her own pipes. She can sing pretty near anything she wants. And she's a great performer. She's magnificent.
That's so great.
I love singing.
But where does this fall? Before we run, I'm curious, where does this fall in terms of, you all getting back out there after COVID? It's been a weird, crazy, insane, like almost 2 years now. But when did you all get back out touring again?
Actually, we did 2 gigs during the pandemic around October, November. And none of us got COVID from it. So
that's good. I'm glad you're staying safe.
And I guess we started up around the beginning of June 2021, going back out pretty steadily.
Awesome. Is there a song when you're out on stage? It must be really great to be back in front of a live audience again. I mean, you know what I mean? Like when you were sidelined for a while, like the whole industry was shut down for a while pretty much. But is it just like so exciting to look out and see a crowd singing your songs back finally again?
Oh yeah, it was driving us nuts not being able to play, because that's how this band was the band that was playing with Paul when he passed away. And this exact band actually, and the family asked us to keep doing it, and we were happy to, because we actually. This is all of our favorite thing to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just, before we run, I rattled off a ton of, the actual hits on the radio that we all remember from all versions of the band. But for you personally, was there a song or an album that, you thought kind of went too far into the radar that never got enough love that you personally thought was one of your best work, like a hidden gem that we should try to seek out?
No, they all got recognized. Jefferson Starship albums all got recognized pretty well. The new one, the Mother of the Sun.
Well, tell us about that, the newest one.
That came out. We let that come out in the middle of the pandemic because it was done, and even though we couldn't go out and play, we decided to release it because it was finished, and so now a year later we're out promoting it. So that has a song that was written by Grace and Kathy and Jude Gold, our lead guitarist, called "It's About Time," which Kathy was watching the women's marches in 2017 January, and they were amazed at how much it looked like Grace remarked how much it looked like the 60s when the stuff that was going on back then. And Kathy said, yeah, we should write a women's anthem about this, about women's empowerment. And she said, would you like to write the song with me? And Grace said, yes, I think I'll. And a couple of months later, some lyrics came in an envelope to Kathy's house, and there's the song called "It's About Time."
I love it. Well, yeah, our listeners.
And that's on Mother of the Sun. That's out there, and then we also we'll do maybe one or two or three songs from that album in addition.
Great. Well, yeah, encourage our listeners to go pick up a copy of Mother of the Sun, listen to it on your way to Maryland Theater, and then you can get all caught up. Awesome.
Yeah, get caught up.
Absolutely.
If you haven't already.
Oh, I'm sure you have. People that are coming to see you, I'm sure, are the diehards. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Just final seconds. Why should our listeners come on out? If maybe they've seen you a bunch or they've never seen you, why come out to Hagerstown and see you this time?
Definitely should come out, because you won't be sorry. You'll have a good time, because we always have a good time.
Awesome. Well, again, Jefferson Starship beams down into Maryland Theater in Hagerstown on December 7th. So get your tickets now. Hey, thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks, Jason. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Catch you later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.